Hi, I'm Irene Weiser. Thank you for having us here today and taking the time to listen. I'm a council member in the town of Caroline in Tompkins County, and I'm also a coordinator of Fossil Free Tompkins. I spoke last week in Albany, addressing the public hearing there, and in my comments there I lamented the status of the state's energy policy. It was summed up pretty well in a bumper sticker that I had seen. It says that the climate is changing faster than we are. Today, I want to offer some insights that I've had into at least one of the reasons that I think the energy policy in the state is struggling. And for this, I'm reminded of the childhood song, the foot bone is connected to the leg bone, which is connected to the knee bone, and on and on. And in the end, our kids learned that it creates a whole body that works together in a coordinated way. This is not the situation with state energy policy. Within the DEC, we've got the CO2 emissions policy, which is separate from the methane reduction policy, which is separate from the speedies permit policies, which is separate from the water withdrawal policies. And the result is very uncoordinated patchwork of policies and decisions with no effective means of controlling power plants like the Cayuga Power Plant, old, dangerous, inefficient, and polluting. Further, the DEC operates as a separate entity from the Public Service Commission and REV, which is the Reforming the Energy Vision. One of REV's promises is that we can reduce our reliance on inefficient, costly power plants because we now have better technologies to shave peak demand. DEC has an opportunity to fix this disconnect and create a coordinated energy planning by revising these CO2 standards to require that any plant that wishes to repower be treated as a new source plant. And thus it would be required to abide by all the modern environmental standards that we expect. It would allow coordination also with the Public Service Commission in determining how best to meet the energy demand, including conducting a reliability analysis and looking to support the energy demand with the modern answers of solar and storage. I also want to address some of the economic evaluations that the DEC is considering. And I understand as part of any process, you do need to understand the economic impacts to the communities. What I want to say there is please don't rely on the old inaccurate data that the PSC has actually rejected as being overstated. This is currently posted in the Part 200, I believe, of these rulings. And the data is very outdated of the economic impacts. I want to say too that yes, transition support is certainly needed. But to please recognize that municipalities have been dealing with the devaluation and tax impacts and job impacts of these plants for over the past 10 years. The Cayuga Power Plant has gone from a valuation of about $230 million down to this year its tax valuation is $30 million. If the plan is to keep power plants going to fend off the economic impacts to the communities, we will never reach our climate goals. Also, I urge you to think about the fact that the cost to municipalities pale in comparison to the catastrophic costs of climate change. The DEC must consider, in addition to the economic costs to the communities, the social costs of both carbon and methane as you consider these economic impacts. The DEC's mission is to protect our resources and our environment for future generations, and we need your leadership now more than ever to connect the CO2 to the methane, to the coal ash, to the water withdrawal, and to take a long-term view. Please reverse and revise these laws to apply to not allow repowering and require new source review. Thank you. Thank you for allowing me to